Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 27th day of the third year of the New Earth Summit, India's first integrated summit on solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. I'm Daryl D'Souza, convener of the New Earth Summit, your host for this evening, and I extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists and to our audience. Also, on behalf of our 10 Earthkeeper groups in India and overseas, we express our gratitude to you for taking out time today to be with us and to share your insights and experience so that all watching this live webinar and its recording later may benefit from the holistic science being presented on this platform that will help us all co-create a beautiful world. Our topic for today is holistic education and green livelihoods. So I will start with introducing our panelists to the audience. Our first panelist is Rajat Misra, who comes from the education and development sector. He is working as a human development coach and consultant for Indus Quality Foundation for the last 8 years. IQF, short form, carries out interventions on spiritual empowerment in educational institutions across the country through workshops and events. He has worked for the international development organization called Humana People to People for many years. Its parent body, the Teachers Group, was among the pioneers behind the Gaia Movement in Europe. Rajat has also served as the head of the mission education program of Smile Foundation, which works for underprivileged children in India. Our panelist, Isha Anand. At a young age of 12, found herself rejected from the premier Jamnabai Nasi school in Mumbai. Thereafter, despite her mother's repeated attempts, she was rejected from various other schools, which left a deep impact on her. Till they finally found a Waldorf-inspired school in Dalhousie, Himachal Pradesh, for her. Being packed off left deep impressions on her, more than the school rejection trauma. But at Waldorf, she felt deep in her soul that she was heard and recognized, and that shaped her. Though she was pulled out later from there and put into a boarding school, which she calls the Cabal's Propagatory Conditioning Institution. Still, she bravely and proudly says that she had her share of experiences firsthand of a few systems of education. Nevertheless, she didn't fit into any of those systems and had to re-educate herself and review what learning and education really means. After having her child and questioning how to raise him, life gave her an opportunity to relook all of it. Rudolf Steiner, the founder of Waldorf, out of all, deeply affected and inspired her with the view that he painted about life. And when she watched her own son grow through the lens of this consciousness, a new way was revealed, which she is so eager to share. It's a goal of being a mother. Her first thanks she gives to Mother Nature, who birthed her mother, her first teacher, and then her son, her guru, for revealing through their lives deep lessons in her life. So wonderful to be with this, lovely panel, and I'm really looking forward to the very, deep discussions we are going to have on this topic today. So for the first hour of this webinar, I have a few questions for our panelists, which will be followed by Q&A with our audience at 7 p.m. But who can also type their questions even before that time as our panelists speak. So now for my questions to the panelists. So as a build up to the first question, I will talk about the word holistic, which is the whole of life experience for us as individuals and a society, along with, as Isha puts it, Mother Earth or Gaia. What is what have we learned so far that is a reflection of our current reality, and we are all experiencing a very harsh reality with a breakdown of our health system, very big threats to our food system, of so much of its already existing contamination that we had presented in previous webinars, with the rise of cancer in society and so many other illnesses. And even now, there has been for many years a collapse of the banking system, and even now there are serious doubts about the newer technologies of digital currency and cryptocurrency. With India recently, the government trying to put a ban on foreign cryptocurrency to have its own cryptocurrency. So we are having a turmoil in all of these systems, and so the reflection is upon how has this present reality manifested? Have we all been educated in such a way, or has there been something missing in our education to reach at such a messed up state where there is so much of stress? We are all in cages with a threat for our lives, threat for our food, and the it is so clear that so many of our natural resources are almost getting over. Maybe we have just another 10-15 years of crude oil, or whether it is 20 years or certain years left for minerals in the ground. Very recently an article came in the papers that there is not enough coal in half of the coal fired power plants in India. um, so yes, so looking at all of this, you know, and we know that education is the basic. What has been planned for in the future has been taught priorly, maybe 10, 15, 20 years in advance. So that's my reflection. Uh, what what has been happening with our learning and in our education system to bring us to this point? Um, Mishra ji, could you please give your view of it first?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me, D'Souza for in this this meeting. This Earth Summit, which you keep organizing from time to time, and so you have raised valid points that we are in a turmoil and things are breaking down. We can see that from our minds. The way things are not so good. We are not feeling at ease, whether it is behaving with our own self or behaving with our family members or in the office or the large society. Wherever we go, we see a breakdown. We feel it. But then the people, we are very good in masking the realities. Those who are so-called worldly people, they're experts in hiding what they feel. But then there are certain kind of people which who know that things are not so good. They try to raise questions. They don't want to hide things. They want to say, they want to admit that things are not so so palatable. It is not so acceptable. And it is, if you see the rational side of it, not just as calculations, which anybody can see that yes, things are not like coal consumption. We don't have much coal left here, and there's so many things. Crude oil also, we can see the price of crude oil rising like anything. So call it any sector, education sector or farm sector, we are not things are moving on because we have a system, and system wants to move on, so we are moving on wherever we are. And uh, if I begin with education sector, I can see that there's so much of heavy course curriculum is being downloaded to the child, in the child's mind. And those who are good, those who can manage this rote learning, which we teach our children, they pass out with good grades, and they get good numbers, and they get admissions in good colleges, and then again this rat race starts. And then you don't find any innovative thinking coming out from the education system, which we have these days. And we're happy because we only want that our child and our neighbor's child, or people as children in our extended family, somehow they get some job. That is the only criteria we have. I don't see the kind of fun which was there when I was a kid. That was depleting that those days also, but somehow everything has become so mechanical that a child who is a student who is from class 3, 4 or 5 grade, he is very much occupied in getting um, 90 plus percentage, and she has to be good in all spheres of life, the academic, whether he is good or not in that field. The father, because he has parents have only one or two kids, so we force them to become experts in all the areas, but you can't be experts. They are not. So what they do, they find a very good way out. That is, they become those who are they somehow learn to become rote learners, and they make their parents happy. Somehow they try to manage passing out the school, then they enter the college. So we are, as I said before, we are good. Our children are also learning to become good in masking what their realities, and somehow it is now affecting our health. Those and immune system, again it comes to immune system, and how far, how much you can continue this load. It depends how strong you are in hiding things. One breaks, sometimes we see the suicide cases happening, those preparing for engineering exams. You can see the number of suicide cases happening, preparing students preparing for medical exams. So we don't raise questions, as long as we see some good results happening. 1% good result, how much good results you are offering to these kids? 90% of them are just doing nothing. So a large chunk of our students, our youths, doesn't know what to do. So if this is the situation that you are happy only with 1% or 2% successful people, and the rest are there doing nothing, then it is not a very happy situation. And so there is a confusion in many areas. The support system is not there in the family, because we are in the nuclear family system these days everywhere, in the metros, or we in the villages. We are copying the metros teach. The villagers are copying, and the city dwellers are copying what the Western world is teaching us. So it is all copy paste happening everywhere, and we don't see, and we see that. So this situation is, there are some lucky people who somehow know what is happening around, and they try to find they create a good environment within their family for their kids, and their kids somehow, then they get education, they get married, and then If there is no someone visionary in the family next after their parents, then again they fall in one or other trap. So the trap is so much, so where, so everywhere. So if you are lucky to cross one trap, you will fall in another trap. Maybe you will fall in credit card trap, you the other trap. So many traps are there. So the system, the society, if it is not supportive, then what dangers will come down to us? We can see that everywhere. So one has to realize, I will say, that from my experience, that there should be a support system, which was there not only in India but also in Europe, which is missing. How can we create that support system within the school, within the family, in the society, in the offices, uh, maybe in so that is something which we need to find solutions. As the other day I saw in the group that you had a meeting with RWAs. So support system, RWAs also can be a support system. So support systems needs to be created, and they should be told that what is the next challenge before them. We don't know what challenges are before us. We are so become so we don't know the challenges. The students don't know, the seniors don't know. So who will show them the challenge? That is what I'm always thinking about. And if one or two person is doing it in his family, in his society, in his area of concern, that is fine. But then if it can but it doesn't have a multiplier, and doesn't have it doesn't have as in you have a it doesn't act like a pressure group. Everywhere you need a pressure group to get things done. We don't have any pressure group which can make people, those who are ordinary people, they can understand only when someone when there's a lobby telling them that you should do it. Otherwise, if some good person is saying that, they'll say that we are not here to become saints and sages. We are not here to change the world. So they have so much of to say in black and white that they are not able to think beyond the x-axis and y-axis. What is beyond what I am watching? If I'm not behaving properly, if my habits are not good, if I'm not doing what is to be done, what is good for me is, I don't know, because there's a system. There is a system which is, as long as I'm behaving, I'm good for that system. If I'm not behaving, I'm thrown out, and where I go, there's nobody is there who is counting, who is creating a log of who went out of the system.
Right.
It disappears. It disappears. What happened to that IS officer who did something wrong? Nobody knows. So quickly we forget things so quickly. I'm amazed. So if a society which doesn't learn from its mistake, if then it is a very big danger. We are not learning actually. So how can we create a learning system if we are forgetting things? Who will remind us? Is there any reminder? Who can remind us, like a gentle reminders, as we say in these groups these days? So gentle reminder. Who is going to give us gentle reminder? So this is what I would say that now.
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Rajat. And we will soon, slowly come to what our ideas of a solution are. And taking your point, and especially I got, focused on that word that you used in between, the rat race. And uh, and yes, we seem to be in that cyclic race. The rat is not even getting free and going and do whatever they want. So we are in a system, in that cyclic, thing going round and round. And the system, I spoke about the system in terms of complete structure in our earlier webinars. And it turns out that at a point of time when this design was made by capitalists or business people or the people who had more power and money of making these big cities, you see, so when you have a big city, you have a high population density, you got a lot of people there. And then what you do is to supply them, because every day, you need water. You dam a river and you collect water in one place, and then you're supplying it. The downstream of the river, okay, that gets dried up, and villages and earlier civilizations that used to live across them, they also start dwindling in number because the food production goes down. And then when they are choked up there, they want employment and they want money to live their lives. So they start gravitating towards the city. And so you have this design of this concentration of a city. And a city is not a free space. It is designed with such detail, architecture. That's where they have been making all of our education and all of these, it's a machine. They have made that entire space. Now it's got to run like a machine with a lot of controls for the main purpose of these controlling businessmen who want to make this great model and have the money flow. And so that's where we have the architects and the engineers and the doctors and all the defined roles churning out to cater to this system. And so it has become clear that we're in this kind of system. And now before that, I say that the natural tribes or the indigenous tribes, they were having their own local civilizations across the planet. They kept the earth whole and clean for the last 10,000 years. But ever since these new business systems came and these capitalists came and started building these cities and concentrated zones of people, and the industrial revolution started, uh, then the talent of making your own food, making managing your own health with the local people, all of that started getting out of our hands. Okay, so at these villages, even if some of them are existing across the world, you don't have these, like you're saying, this pressure upon people to, go to some institute and get, trained. It's all happening locally, and it's a very, smooth running system over there. But now we have this huge machine, like you say, it's a runaway train, and we don't know how much is the supply and the demand. Certain professions are, we're having sometimes too many engineers, and if we have in a certain zone too many engineers, then you have a job shortage. Then they have to leave that place, they have to go somewhere else. And I remember in my own life, the time where I completed my engineering. And then I was fearful by that, there are so many engineers around. So do I have a chance of getting a good job? And just because I need an engineer, and then I could hear about MBAs, I just went and did an MBA as a backup, that maybe I'll get a better salary. And if I don't get a job as engineer, I'll get a management job. And I did that as well. Well, it turned out at that point of time, uh, both my parents, when my father got his award in Johnson and Johnson's for 35 years of service from that same organization. Of course, it was a celebration in the house, but I was just, adding up things. That my dad first, he had a couple of small jobs, and then from the age of 25, he worked for the next 35 years. That means till he was 60 in one company only. And so that kind of dedication, that man, how did he manage to sit in that place, in that same company and do all of that? I was totally freaked out. And I said, oh my gosh, I can never do this. I will retire by the time, I will not work for a company. I will not have a boss at the age of 550. I have to make some master plan to, get out of this rat race, and but it turned out as I went and started working for all of this, I had my own experience of sickness and then healing, wellness, and I decided I wanted to come out of this at the peak of my career. I just ejected out of there, and that was 2005, and I was actually in 2005 I was 35 years old. So I surprised myself. I jumped out of that system, but I was an associate consultant for 5 years, and then at the age of 40, I completely came out, and I came here into the village to be free, to not be that rat doing a particular role, to have freedom. And so that's, my experiment started. So with that, I will ask, Isha. Um, Isha, what is your what is your understanding? Because right from a young age itself, you could not agree with what was being taught in school, and that is why you had some differences with the institutions, and the new institutions also said, uh, you know, please tell us about it.
It was so funny. I went from a gently, politely expelled student traveling around schools all over India, being rejected in the principal's office while I'm sitting next to my mother, to a Waldorf school where they didn't care what you achieved and what you could do. They just wanted you to explore free. And after that, being taken from that completely no authority, but a discipline in the environment, space. I was taken to boarding school where I became head girl in a week. So from being expelled 1 year before, I was taken and made head girl. Nobody who knew me before could believe it. They thought my principal had gone crazy. But she saw something, she saw an enthusiasm in me to prove myself and not to have this label stuck on me of being a failure, failing in classes because I'd rather be outside the classroom than sitting in the classroom. All these things, I think I became the opposite. You know, when they give you responsibility and they believe in you, you change and you can be a good student and you can explore the possibilities that they told you that you can't do. I kind of got the freedom then to, and I did really well. But in the end, even that was for everybody outside of you to appreciate you. It wasn't really connecting you to you. It was looking for outside appreciation, for medals, for, you know, being an important student. I had to undo all of that in my life. And I realized that I have to feel happy and whole. And this is what's missing. This is what they don't give you. Is, you know, when my son was born, I realized he's already perfect. What I'm going to teach him, he's, because we believe in reincarnation, he was obviously born before. He obviously had a life. He obviously was probably married with children, had a degree or had a business and died an old man. Right? So what am I going to teach him? If there's anything I have to do, is I have to make him remember what he came for. And more exploring this avenue, I realized that in Waldorf, there is this perspective that we are a fourfold human being. We have a spiritual energy, we have a emotional soul energy, we have an ego organization body, and we have a physical body. These four energies actually make a whole human being. And I started to notice that in the education system, it is only the ego and the will and the body. There is no nourishment of soul and spirit. And that's why we are so disconnected. And that's why we always look for outside appreciation in our careers and in our society. And this is the basic disconnect that we spend our whole lives trying to recover from if we are lucky. And this is what helped me raise my child and relook at education, because the whole child, all of these aspects of the human being need to be developed and encouraged for us to be a whole human being, to make a holistic society around us, and to feel harmony in ourselves. This is where I think we've just ignored parts of ourselves. And the system ignores parts of you. The allopathic system does not acknowledge your mind in your health, does not acknowledge your emotional in your health, physical health and well-being. I mean, there's a basic disconnect. And that's why we are suffering so much. And that's why I think all of us are anguished people and in despair, because we're disconnected from our whole selves. And this has been my study and my exploration with my son, is that holistic. I want you to feel capable of anything, because learning is not just in school, it is actually lifelong. In my own life, I've changed careers 3 times. I know that you can always learn a new skill, and it could be your way of life for a little while. And that capacity is what keeps you evolving as a human being, not a degree, not a certificate, not um, not recognition even. It's actually your ability to learn new things constantly that keeps you evolving as a human being. This is my view, and it's very inspired from Steiner and lots of educators that I read that I resonated with, because I saw that in my own education there were certain things that were missing, that I had to leave school and stop going to college and really go out into life and learn those things in life rather than in a institution, because they didn't teach you these things. There is my mother sent me to Vipassana when I was 18, and then you went within. You know, you saw your mind, the nature of thought, energy. And all, like, I always dreamt that if I ever had a school, the 10th standard exam would not be there. It would be 10 days Vipassana. That's all you need. You don't need a certificate at the end of the year. You need a connection with yourself and to understand how you create your own reality. And it would be quite different, I think, our students, if they understood this before they went out into the world, rather than to become slaves and listen to your teacher and then listen to your boss and then listen to your government and become just an obedient, dumbed down version of a human being, which is what is happening today, I think.
So right, yeah, Isha, getting you, completely. And Rajat, that the source of the problem, exploring the source of the problem is not leaving me as yet. And so that's why this question to you is that the pressure on our children, right? Where does it come from? That you have to, basically, the parents know one thing, that when you're of this age, you got to have a degree, you got to get a job. And now, because they have been sensibly told or asked, what does your child like? Does he like fiddling around with objects and all? Then maybe he should be an engineer. Does he like playing with the cat or with the doll, or or she with the doll? And then maybe they need to be a nurse or a doctor if they are there taking care of these things. So but one prime thing the parent knows, right? That's like the Damocles sword across your head. By this time, by 23, by 24, you gotta get a job. So then they're trying to work it down and see what does the kid like. Okay, maybe you should go for science, you should do engineering. So this top-down pressure, right? So that's the pressure that's coming on the child. That's the curriculum that's there in the right in the the primary school also. Of course, everything is common now in that system. They say that you got to learn all these subjects because we don't know where you will be required to serve in this machine. So whether you like it or not, you please learn all of these 10 subjects, year after year. And that's so much of a pressure on children. And we did it and we are still doing it. And yeah, so the origin of point, the origin point of this I'm seeing is that job, why job? For money. So you are in the system that money is the key thing, that and for that money, by this age, you gotta have a job, and because of that, you gotta learn this entire thing. Everything is shoved down your throat. And if you were not in this system and you go to those villages, yeah, so things are so free over there. And the child can just look around left, right in a few days and say, okay, I want to do that now, like what Isha says. I want to do that for a few years, and then I enjoyed it. Then I want to do something else. So do we see that? Do we see that in our system that there is so much pressure, mainly for money, in this machine, and that top-down pressure is dictating everything? There's a hurry, and there's like they already have done the program for us. So how can you come? How can you not come out a robot when you're running on their program?
It's the only system that has not evolved or changed in over 100 years.
Yeah.
Could you hear me? The education
Yes.
system is the only thing that has not been changed or been developing. The system is the same. The syllabus is the same. I mean, in every other area, we have made such great advances in technology, but in the education system, there has been absolutely no change. It is the
Yes,
last.
Isha. Yeah.
In a society, it shocks me that in a society like ours, where we pay the entertainers the most money, we don't pay our farmers and we don't pay our educators. We pay the entertainers the most amount of money. That is a level of disease. That's when I realized, oh my God, we're a really sick society. Like, we're paying our actors and filmmakers multi hundreds of crores, and our educators and our farmers are completely rejected, are not even acknowledged. I mean, it's really time to look at these things very deeply and not associate with this society that somebody else has created for you, that you have no say in changing. This is what I told my father Like, why would I want to be part of a world that is so horrible? I don't want to be part of this mainstream world. I don't want a successful career like you. I don't want your fame and your millions. I just want to be free human being. And I can never be free because everything I do is to harm the planet. I make my crores by destroying my planet. That is the only career options you have. You know, to make money, big money, you have to destroy the planet, use her resources, abuse her to a great degree. I mean, I don't want to be part of this world. I say, I go sit in the jungle, I'll become a shepherd. I said, a shepherd walks with his sheep all the time and he survives his life and he makes his life. I can be a shepherd as well. You never get these ideas when you're living in the city, educated in the city. You don't have opportunities to even see another way of life, to imagine that it is possible. You're right. The city structure that they have created for this world, the structure in which the system with which it operates, from the word go, is diseased. And as long as we associate with that system, um, we are diseasing ourselves, slowly, slowly sickening ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. And I can see that. Have you not seen that Indians, we Indians uh, are the tools for this whole world. Whether you
Yeah,
talk
we're like
about,
the we've been educated so we can serve them, I think. It's
yeah,
some sort of,
we go and serve Europe, we go and serve America, we go and
yes,
serve everywhere. Talk about any top corporate sector, we are the managers. We have learned to become, for the last 100 years, the only thing we have learned is that is management. We are good
but
managers, but then are we doing it from our heart? No, we are good
we had the
managers.
best we had the best education system, the Gurukul system in India, which the British, I think, purposely destroyed. This Lord Macaulay, I don't know his name, he even said, take away their culture and you will collapse India. Otherwise, there's no other way of taking hold of this nation. You disconnect them from their culture and you will disable these people. And with our education system, they have absolutely done that because their education system is to enslave us. Our ICSE board, CBSE board was not created by us. It was created by an imperialistic society, a governing body, and we are just still following that same system.
And can you see that, Isha, that you could revolt from your and say, Father, I'm not going to do this, and you were lucky enough to have that kind of father who heard you.
Oh, my
You were lucky.
parents, my
You were
parents
lucky.
were my first teachers. They let
Yeah,
me, they
yeah,
kept
yeah.
saying, if you are not connected to you, then we will all suffer. You will be miserable. You will be a sad
Now
person. Then you will
I know.
become a sick person. Then no, no, no. You find out what makes you happy. You
So
please
you were
go do
lucky.
that.
So
Very fortunate.
I was also lucky like you, Isha, which I got my father also said, do whatever you like to do. And but then there are very few. I think we are those from we are very lucky in that way. But then imagine the society. You don't get these kind of parents in the society. They're
Because there
just
is so much.
yeah, they're not. You don't have. So today I'm talking about a system. I'm talking about a pressure group. If you had a lucky father, you could do whatever you wanted to do. So it is just like an exception in the society. So do we need do are we happy today to have some exceptions like you? I'm not very happy to see one or two exception in the society.
Oh
I want to
no.
see change. The complete change is required. So how is it possible? We require a judicious mix of brain and heart. I have seen that good people have very good heart, but then they try to ignore their intellect. So somehow we need to devise a system where we could also learn to find like as ways to break the system. So it should not be like if you don't if you're not learning this art, then you will just be remain an exception always. But this world is as Daryl rightly said that we only have 15 to 20 years now. The earth is suffering so much. So are we happy to be called as exceptions in the society? I don't think we should have such a small standard bar for us. We should think that now we should find ways to change the system. And how can we do it? That is the challenge. That is the challenge. I don't know how we will do it, but that is the challenge. It is possible. If we think that we can do it, definitely we can do it. Yeah. And
Yes,
I've seen, yeah, I've seen people like experimenting. As you said that in Europe, people, at least they allow people to experiment in Europe and US. But here in India, you don't allow your children to experiment. You don't allow your children to travel. At least we should allow them to travel if they are from. We are not allowing them to travel and see what is happening in the neighboring state.
Very good point, because I told my dad that was my main education. Because when I left school, I started working while in college and then making pocket money and then traveling when I had enough. And I really realized my education, my real education, began when I started traveling and seeing other possibilities of existence. Because you grow up seeing only the way you are being brought up, and your immediate family and society around you, your friends are being brought up. And the minute you leave your home and you go out into the world, you see, so many possibilities. It's overwhelming. This traveling, I told my father, was like the greatest education I gave myself. It was the real education. And there is an importance in experiencing various types of life which the system doesn't allow us, which I think is the responsibility of the parent. If the parent really is awake and wants to give their child the ability, they have to encourage the child to see different perspectives, because your parents are actually your first educators. When you get rejected in school and you come home, your parents make you feel that it's okay, that the school doesn't understand or see your beauty right now, but maybe one day they will. And that doesn't mean that you don't have the talent to do something. This balance between a sick education system, at least if you have a nurturing family, it balances out. But when the family starts to also put pressure on the child and the education system, then society, then you have a weak a weak individual entering society who doesn't feel that he is capable, and they feed that incapacity and constantly make you feel that you are incapable and you need more, to do more, to prove more. This entire psychology, I think, is a complete my son doesn't go to school. Forget homeschooling. I have not schooled him. I said, let's see what happens to you. You will be my greatest experiment. What you will learn on your own. What excites you, what encourages you, what and you see that all children have a certain tendency towards a certain thing. And if you leave them, each kid in the group provides something to the whole that the other one cannot, which is like all of us. We all have gifts, something precious to offer life and, the collective. But till we don't individualize, according to Steiner, till we don't go out in the world and fully understand who we are and experience what all we are, there's no way we can offer anything to society. So first, to go into you and explore you, mind, body, will, spirit, soul. And then when you see what you are, you have something to offer the whole, the collective. And this is the circle in Waldorf, in Rudolf Steiner's philosophy, that I really felt, when you gather the pearls from your life, then you may make a necklace and offer it to somebody. Otherwise, you constantly have to buy things to compensate the feeling. You don't gather any pearls, you just go to the shop and buy it.
yes, thank you, Isha, for that. And I'm just seeing one more aspect of the system, you see, but first I want to make one comment on what you shared earlier, that we pay our, entertainers and actors the most. And I think because this is the resultant of the system, when we
Yes.
look at the other parts of it, it just brings us despair and sadness. I think we're so depressed looking at what's happening in the engineering, what's happening at education, what's happening with food and all of that. It absolutely brings us no joy. And the only way we can escape this joy is, just pay the entertainers to get out of this, horrible life experience that we're having. That's why everybody, after the horrible day, they want to go and watch the TV and watch a funny serial to get over this, horrible experience that they're having. So this is the second factor that I'm just bringing in to this system. One is the fear of, that money first. And the
Yes.
second thing is this disappointment that's happening all around. And so we have created all of this, this machine. And the third point from what you're saying right now, I'm just mentioning that the third point of this machine, it is catering you to do one part, just one part of that machine, because this is that machine that they have made. And only if they can get every person to do that specific part, their machine will run. If their education system gave a person 3 4 options, then oh my goodness, this machine may collapse, because people have freedom to do what they want and they won't run a machine. Now, so this is what is happening. I'm talking of it in a way I hope people are understanding that this has made this such a big destructive machine that has manifested this huge program from the United Nations, which is called the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 so far. That poverty is a big problem, water is a big problem, unemployment is all. And basically, this is the machine over the last 100 years that has manifested all these problems, because they made such a complex machine. And if they could just let go this and free that water and just let us go all over the place and be with nature and make the machine less complicated, where in your particular society, of course, all the things are required in society. You require food, you require home building materials, and you require all of that. And there are almost about 50 independent ecosystems that are called eco villages or intentional communities all across the globe. And they are just comparable to the indigenous tribes that we have, and they are functioning perfectly well, being small machines. So I think that is what we have to visit right now, that the machine has become so big, created all these big problems in the world, and this bubble, as we know, is already bursting, right? It's already bursting. That's why I had a call from an MBBS, young MBBS doctor. He just passed his MBBS a year back, and he's saying, "No, I want to come and join your course because I got a couple of health issues and I want to learn natural medicine." You know, this happened 5 years back when I was developing this integrative model in which an MBBS doctor collaborates with an energy healer, with a dietitian, and a
Wow.
reflexologist. The first lady who agreed to come in, when I explained to her that this is why we're collaborating, then and she had just passed MBBS about 1.5 year, and she says, "No, I do not want to be known as an MBBS, allopathic doctor giving all these pills that do not cure people. Please." And she went out of the model because she said that I don't want that label. I don't think this medicine system is working. So right now, looking at the problems in the world, so many of our youngsters are saying that, this is not what I want to do anymore. I do not want to work for this machine and this role. I can see there are big problems. I want to do natural health. I want to do natural food. And, I want some other options in life. So that's where we come to the next part of this discussion is the green livelihoods, that everything that is changing in the world now. So instead of this mechanized machine that has not cured anybody of their high BP, cholesterol, diabetes, and all that for the last 50 or 100 years, we are back with natural medicine that is reversing all of this. So yeah, so this is where we are right now, where the whole we are realizing that new jobs, we want to have a greener life, and we want to stop being part of this machine. And some information and education is redundant right now, and we have to pick up new things. So how do we transition from here? And it's been about 3 4 years back that when I started working this integrative natural medicine model and putting it for wellness centers, across the place. Like I had a proposal for Goa, setting up integrative natural medicine centers all across Goa with a prototype model. And there I said every wellness center has to have a huge hall, because it's going to be an education center also. Because there's more education in not getting sick then there's lesser education in then trying to fix you. So I said that is one part. Then how do you grow natural food? That's another part. How do you have natural water? How do you live in a natural home? How do you get enough sunlight? How do you design your ecosystems? So at least one thing became clear that at the at the lower level, not at university and all of that, wherever people are finding deficiencies and they want to improve their lives or get some new skills, whether it is any healing modality, whether it's any cottage industry kind of skill, that they can get it in these centers. So that was one idea. But Rajat, if I ask you for what is the uh, what is the way forward of either transforming our current huge universities and systems, or are we supposed to just say let that fix itself and let us go and do something new? Do we reform that? I mean, is the government open to that, or what kind of body do we form, or engagement do we have with them for transformation to happen? Because we know that's where the masses are, and what we're doing is a very small percentage. And if we only have, we want to transform this world in terms of knowledge and what are the right things to do. And if we got only 20 years, right, before we run out of all, non-renewable resources. So, I mean, we are in an emergency. So,
Yeah.
what do you suggest as the way forward?
Yes, Darren, I would suggest that, as I said earlier before, I have seen the founders of Humana, people to people, who are the founders of one of the founders of Gaia Movement also. They learned it. The history is like in the 70s, when there was so much of money in Europe. They in 60s, late 60s and 70s, the hippie movement started and it manifested in different ways. So the students, young students, and this teacher group took the students from Denmark and other Scandinavian countries in a bus. They hired a bus, and then they traveled from Denmark, from Europe to Pakistan, and then to India. So they learned. The students learned, and they called that school. They have named it. It is a Danish term. It is DNS or something. It is called in English. It's called Traveling Folk High School. The students learned by because they were traveling. They learned from this world. So actually, Indians have stopped traveling. We have stopped exchanging notes even from our neighbors. So if this system will not, I don't think that the those who are the rulers, the ruling party will ever want that the system should be changed, because they're also getting paid from some of the bosses who are, I don't know where they are seated, maybe in US or in Europe, because there's a system. There's a system. India is providing for the whole world. You know, so I don't think that it will change by these politicians will devise good synonyms which will sound very good for us. We will be very happy to see, oh, now you have this education policy, that education policy, and then some folks will just, we will be get very excited, as now we are very excited with this new education policy. And I've seen people that like the thinking people from the right wing also. They have told me that I have not read this education policy, but they told me that it is very theoretical. There's no very little room for practicality in this education policy. Then when someone told me, I didn't find any interest to read that book. The day because I have no interest in anything which is not practical. I'm sorry, I'm very impatient kind of person. The problem, the way I was born, maybe I'm not neurotypical. So that is the problem. I don't have patience for those things. So the thing is, like, we should learn. At least we should tell them to. We should ask our children to learn notes from others. So how can we maybe uh, they will not understand the hidden agenda, the term that they which I am talking about. We should allow our students to travel, learn from what is happening in the neighboring village, learn from what is happening in the neighboring city. So if this could be inculcated and practiced in large number, in big number, then these students will change the whole system without the rulers knowing what has happened, why they changed, why they started thinking like that. So one thing I suggest that we should allow them to travel, and that is not very. It's not a rocket science to make, because they always travel. They travel to Goa. They travel to Goa to make fun. They travel to Delhi to see something in a big mall, and what is happening in Delhi. So they travel for a very lower. There's a very low, very the ideal. There's no such big purpose actually to travel. We should ask the students. We should ask the professors. We should ask the universities, maybe private universities, that that encourage them to travel. How we will do it, I know that is the one thing which we have to see that. And apart from that, I think in the system, I don't see any such possibility otherwise. Yes, there is a possibility that we should start teachers training, as the teachers training is a very big platform these days. Can we can we devise ways for parents training, because parents are very left out tribe actually. They learn only from the internet, and they are so self-centered that they don't admit that they don't know. And can we make them accept that they don't know? So can we make that? So can we devise parents training academies? Uh, so this is what these two things I'll suggest now.
You know what Rajat has said about the parents in all the schools that I have researched to start my own. I already was inspired to start a completely radically alternative school. 80% of the people told me the kids are fine. It's the parents that need to re-educate themselves. We are doing it through the children. In the whole world of movement, they were like, we're going to re-educate society through the children. They will go home and change their parents, because actually it's the parents that need the work. They have been miseducated, and they are continuing to miseducate their children. And this is the cycle that needs to unwind itself. The children need to teach the adults, because they are already the future just by their birth. When my son was born, I saw, oh my God, according to science, the best of my DNA and the best of my husband's DNA has come together and made this amazing person. Now, this person is already better than me and my husband put together. Right. The next generation is more evolved than you just by biology and the way nature has designed a system. Only in India, the young people do not get that recognition. You go abroad, you'll meet 26, 28-year-old CEOs. In India, the 70-year-old CEO will not allow his own child at 35, because what does he know? What does he know? It is crazy that we think this way, because they are the future. By the time they come into the future, we are in the past. And if they don't take us, this is why I'm such a fan of my son and all his friends, because I believe they are the future. And when they become big, it will be the future that we are seeing right now will be the future. It will be their time. And if we are not with them, we will get left behind. It is in our evolution to be linked to the children, because as they go and create a future, we might have a possibility of a future with them. Otherwise, it is finished for us. Like what we have created, a world where old people are not needed, but they have the most amount of love and wisdom, to share with everybody. And we ignore them in our society. We create it such that they can't get out and they can't interact with the world. So they are isolated. There are these things really, I feel that if we can just change this cycle of parents feeling like their children have come to educate them, we have created a new world already. The solutions are with our children for the problems that we created. They are already carrying the solutions for all our problems. My son told me the other day, when I become prime minister, I will truly listen to my people. He's 9 years old. He already knows the problem of the government is that it doesn't listen to its people.
Yeah.
If you sit with the children, they are fresh. I have seen a movement of young kids all go vegan because they don't want to be part of this torturing animal industry. They think it's so wrong that they cannot believe we adults have been not doing anything about it.
Yes.
And in a few months, 12 kids around me turned vegan, and I was like, what is going on? They're like, we don't want to support this business. Finished.
Wonderful.
The change is coming from the children. The more the adults align with them and support them, we might have a possibility of a future, is what I truly believe. They
So
will
right.
not they will not allow us to continue the way we allowed it to continue. They feel the pressure and they
Right.
want to make a better world. So I believe all the children need the adults behind them, supporting them. Then maybe the adults will have a life later on in 20 years. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen in 20 years. But it's the
Right,
only solution I found in my
yes.
own experience is,
So,
yeah, is
well,
they know they are the future. We follow them and we nourish them and we take care of them, and maybe we have a chance at a future.
yes. So right. And the next thing that I feel is a necessary part of that equation is not to corner them into that machine. You see,
Oof,
so if you keep
that's
on,
never.
if you're back in the machine again, you're thinking problems of the machine, solution of the machine. So that's why, even through the New Earth Summit, for many reasons, because of the way we have destroyed these cities, right? I said, that there should be a movement, and that's what I'm promoting, creating eco-friendly, self-sustained, villages. And
Good.
the purest version of it is a greenfield project where there's, only nature and nothing there, so you get to design it in a beautiful way that you do. So when they are surrounded with nature, I think that's all we got to give them, keep them in nature and they talk to nature. And the subject that I like to talk about, it's in my books also. I talk about the living sciences. You cannot learn living sciences in a laboratory. That is a different environment. And that has been tried to being penned down in a book. And you're reading out of that book. No, the deepest sciences is when you live with the plants, with the soil, with the air, with the sun, with the water. And if you are, open enough, all of these things, which are, manifestational of God, I call them, they are all the teachers. So
Yeah.
a very, very simple
Yep.
example I give sometimes in my retreats on spirituality when it comes to teaching and, what people think of themselves. I say that, if you are in a garden and you are just trying to grow the a rose tree. Do you teach the rose how to grow? Who's the teacher, right? So it is the rose that will teach you. If you want a deep red color, then this is what you need to do for my soil.
Yes.
If you want me to grow in this way, this is how you should trim me.
Yes.
And if you want me to do this, then this is how much you should water me. Don't
Yes.
do this. Do this to me. So
Yeah.
all of nature has got the living sciences. And if we just keep our children in these environments, without all these teachers saying this, teachers saying that, then they will really pick up, the amazing things. They are so alive and so intuitive. And so I said the best learning environments are where everything is, clean. And then comes the next environment with the existing villages and all of that. You know, we try not to impose upon them the current systems. And in the current villages, the trigger is what? There are problems. There is a water problem. There is a congestion problem. So the problem is enough to trigger their own minds and start making them work. And I think, yeah, in that machine, in the concrete jungles, you have the biggest triggers. Of course, people there also, if you leave them to themselves, they will form innovative solutions. If you go to the universities that have been there for a long time, they just tell you how to make a new version of your existing problem. That's the problem, I think, with the
Yes.
current education system.
That is the point. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. New version of your existing problem. Yeah. Yeah. This is what the universities are teaching
And
us. Yeah.
yeah, and the fact is that that system has become so complex, right? That you no longer can figure out a solution in that complex system. So it's better you come down to simpler systems and start learning new life lessons and new way to live. And so that is one version of my model where all those people who aspire to live in natural communities, now's the time that you need to start learning. And that's why the New Earth Summit, all the 3 years of the webinars all recorded. And of course there are many other resources in the around the world where you can learn all of this. And when people asked me in our eco village that I'm planning in Goa, they asked, uh, we should, won't we have Wi-Fi? Won't we have computers? Won't we have this thing and that thing? So I said, see, the community, the first phase, people who are building the community are knowledge complete. Whether it's 30 or 35, they complete knowledge to make the entire community for the next 30 years. So once they are in, I do not need any more knowledge to come in. So no, I don't need your networks and all of those things, right? Not for learning. If you want to be in touch with your mother and grandmother in another country, okay. We can have, some terminals where there is cabled internet and all that, and you can enjoy some time in the education, space or the technology, room. But so this is just a reflection. You see, when you have, and it doesn't take so many people to be knowledge complete to design a new earth. That's what the New Earth Summit is about. It's creating a self-sufficient either city, village, or a state. You see, and making these things all, pieces of new earth all across the place. Now, why I say a knowledge complete? Because when you go into the deep mechanics of it, it is the soil of that place, the water of that place, the humidity, the sun, the seasons, and all that. So, all the natural sciences are very specific to that place. So, and this is what was handed down over the last 10,000 years to all those indigenous communities by word of mouth, by experiential learning, and not by textbooks and not by computers. So please don't tell me it's not possible because it was being done since 10,000 years.
True,
Yeah,
true, true.
true, very true. And I think we need many more of these communities, the knowledge communities which you are talking about. And it is possible somehow. I think that because India has a spiritual background, uh, it today it is finding we find it it is very difficult to visualize even. But I think if in this crisis, COVID, which COVID has brought in, it may happen that we will find these communities in maybe in big number in the country
Yes.
because of our spiritual background. That advantage we have. Maybe we didn't had a good society. We are not some Swami Vivekananda had said that we were very free in terms of spirituality, but we didn't had a free society. So there we are lacking actually, and not here but since maybe thousands of years. We didn't offer a good free society to this world. We did offer a free thinking in terms of religion and spirituality. So I think somehow this this congestion which society is bringing us inside us is even hampering the growth of religion and spirituality, which was our strength. So that is why this revolt is happening from spiritual side. It will continue till these spiritual people will find freedom to express themselves. So I think there's a possibility because India has that background, and Indians are not able to practice their spirituality these days. I can see that. That is why they will listen to this movement. I can imagine. Yeah, they will listen to us. Yeah, there is a possibility, huge possibility.
Great. And just adding to that, what you just said is that we are not getting a chance to practice our spirituality. And I think it is because we have been hijacked by this machine on various aspects. So right now we are hijacked on health with this, non-existent virus and these COVID symptoms and all that. And if that gets taken care of, then we'll be hijacked by this thing of, the banking system is collapsing. And if that we take care of that, we're going to be hijacked by one of the other 17, sustainable development goals that were not never, that were created. So yes, so definitely, I think all our youngsters also need to, understand this. They're seeing it, they're seeing the drama, and they're asking the questions, and they are getting replies nowadays. They're getting better replies from people who are looking at life, and they are getting stupid answers from the machine or what you call, fake mainstream media. So even they are realizing that.
Yes.
And I think the transformation is, going to happen gradually. So I think this tech science and technology that we are building up to create self-sufficient communities, I think it should even go in the cities because it is the 100%, 100% of the technology that is being going towards making a new earth where you do not need to dig out any more non-renewable resources from the planet. This is the model that we have been formulated now. And if that goes whether into your villages or into your cities, at least those children and youngsters and engineers and all will understand, yes, there is a complete beautiful natural way. And even if I'm staying in my city or in my village, how close can I adapt to it? You see, how close can I do it? So let me at least engineer that. If I assume that I'm stuck in my place, and if I assume that I'm not stuck in this place, and I can talk to my parents and get some support and all, and go and learn in an open school or make an open school, or find out who are the people in India who did Waldorf education or who are doing open learning. Uh, Last year's summit also we had wonderful speakers on it. You will get the names from the Livelihoods summit videos. So connect with these people and start going to places where you have a clean slate and you can set up this beautiful school.
Yeah, very true, very true. And as you said, that what is happening around in the villages, there is a possibility that people living in the cities and the students and the youth, they will realize that we need to think, we need to we should learn not to waste our resources as we are doing in the past. So I think if at least that much can come, can be inculcated by the city dwellers, a lot will happen in maybe next 4 or 5 years old. That is a possibility, and this is the right moment because things are now going back to the track, and this is the time when they remember that the world stopped because we had done something wrong with this nature. That is why this crisis came in. So if this is the right time to knock them again, these knock their minds, these people who are living in the cities and towns, that if brother, if you will not behave properly, again this mishap is going to have come. Maybe not in next 5 years, maybe in another 2 years old, it will come in. So if we could somehow educate them, and we could, like as I said, that we could educate the parents. First thing I see, that the education of parents is very important. Along and through parents, I see that parents should be the key. I think they are the key people through which we should spread our this message. Apart from that, yes, through teachers also, through school principals who have suffered a lot because education was a business. So they have suffered. These private schools have suffered a lot. They are ready to listen. These, I can see that they're ready to listen. They want solutions. Why this huge loss? Because it was such a good business for education, that it was you were getting so much of profit by being part of a big chain or opening a school chain. And so many people were involved. Bureaucrats were involved, politicians were involved, so many people involved, even uneducated people were involved. Everybody is there in this, and they are minting money. And this sudden break which has come in, which is unexpected for at least this education sector, they are so much shocked. Actually, it's like a trauma for these people who are in the Egyptian sector. So this trauma will last for many years now. So these people, these traumatic people, need to be educated, need to be reminded again and again that your trauma will not go if you will not follow this principle. And so education teachers training workshops as can also be taken, and that can at least make them understand that how to become a good teacher, how to understand what are the values which so it should be not like any some the idea is, which I'll suggest, that if you say that no, the system is wrong and you need to go and come out of the system, if you say this to these people, they will not listen to us, they will not listen to you. We should tell them that how to behave in Delhi, how to behave properly in Mumbai, why how to become a good teacher, how to become a good student. So things should be imparted in homeopathic doses, not in a it should not be something which they just say no, it is something which we cannot imagine. We just came
Right.
out of COVID crisis, and you're saying that leave the city is not possible. No way, we will not do it. So homeopathic doses, this is what I'll suggest.
Right, right. We're
Yeah,
getting, yeah, I'm getting your idea. It's incremental doses when you're saying
yeah,
about homeopathic doses.
yeah,
And it was nice over the last 5 years, at least in Goa, I have been invited, and have been giving lectures and, talks on whatever special day of schools. And I've done a couple of health programs for teachers also. When I gave the talk to, Sunshine School here in Goa, it was just, they gave me an hour's time and I spoke to the children about, the connection between their food, their habits, and their health. Okay. And of course, they were there. And since it's a special school, there were more teachers also present over there to just see what I'm saying and how at a later time they can even, with sign language and other things. There was a sign language teacher also there, kind of translating. And so there were, at least some teachers over there in the audience. And at that time, they understood, oh my gosh, this is such important education. We needed it. And they called for a workshop, and I landed up doing a 3 hours on the first Thursday, plus 3 hours on the second Thursday workshop for 32 teachers. Okay. So I was so happy that the, teachers were so, realized that this is what is missing. They never learned it in their whole life, not in their schools. State also they never learned it, how to prevent diabetes, how to prevent obesity and headache and so many other things. And so I'm especially happy when like through Lions Club also I had done programs. And I'm most happy when, of course, there are the places filled with children, but I'm even happier if there are at least a dozen teachers, or not just those 2 3 teachers of that class, because these teachers need to know what is missing in their curriculum and why you have invited me here, because those things have not been taught in your school. So I've been teaching about health, I've been teaching about food, I've been teaching about soil, about organic farming, and about habits. So I think this is the route, and this is the idea for all existing schools, to pick up, good speakers, know where the issues are, pick up good speakers, keep on having them, visit your schools and bringing that knowledge. So I think that's one route of transformation, where when these things happen more regularly, the headmasters, the principals, and the people who fix the curriculum, they begin to see the necessity of these things in mainstream teaching. And like you're seeing, the COVID crisis is there right now. So of course the biggest problem it has brought up is health. So everybody knows now that the teachings on health are very important, and natural medicine is, taking care of people's immunity. So like that. So health and food security and water. The next, the word is already out. There are going to be water wars across the planet because of scarcity of water. So the entire science of conserving water, recycling gray water, black water, rainwater harvesting, and all, which can
yeah,
be done in the
yeah,
cities as well, because that's the place where there's no water in the ground.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, at least by this, I think there's a lot of hope for the existing institutions also to slowly transform over time. And we need, yeah, definitely we need pioneers, to get into those systems and start their work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Incremental doses, as as you said, this is what this is the way forward for the cities, because slowly you can change them. It should be a slow process. It should be a slow process, because people are habituated in living in the cities. They were habituated in this system, and they don't have that kind of vision. So if you just break them, like shake them, then they will say that no, you are mad. You go out of this from my eyes, and I'll not listen to you. So incremental doses, if it can be imparted somehow, and the bigger vision can be told them. I'm not saying that it should not be told, but slowly, very slowly.
Oh,
Should be
yes.
it should be designed in such a manner that they should not feel shocked. Oh my God, we were wrong so many. As we, although this is the reality, but then but then I don't think they'll accept it. These people, they will not accept. Most of them will not accept it. Some of
Anyway,
them were interested.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we have to work out whichever is the middle path and
Yeah.
walk that line. Isha, is your son around? Can you say hi to us?
Actually, he's out since last night with his friends. They're
Okay.
like 15, 16-year-olds who like hanging out with a 9-year-old. Every time they get together, they call him and he just drops everything and runs to the big bhaiyas who want to have him with him. So after a sleepover, they have gone for some go-karting and then they've gone for a walk in Badem. Then his father has gone to just pick him up because I had the webinar, I couldn't go.
Yes,
So
yes. Okay, okay.
I'm expecting him home, but he's not yet here.
So he is having a full day. Wonderful.
He's 9, but I really feel that in the first 8 years, it is pivotal for the nourishment of the emotional body of the child. And if in these 8 years he has two caring, attentive parents and a caring, attentive environment, not much trauma goes into the child. And they know when they are older that they are good and all is good in the world. So even though this COVID thing happened, I made sure that he has a fearless family environment. And we openly discussed that these tests are faulty and these masks don't really protect you. So while the whole conditioning scam is going on, we kept the family really clear that we are not falling for this narrative, no matter how much the mainstream is shoving it down your throat. We in ourselves will be strong enough to resist this because we know scientifically, factually, from our doctors and people like you in our environment that this cannot be true. This is not giving enough credit to our own immunity and the nature systems that have been put in place. This year, I think, has been pivotal in my son to realize that there are several realities existing at the same time. And what you give focus to, you create. He has learned this. Okay, what is happening there? I don't go to school. I'm happy not to go to school. I'm happy to stay with you all, meet my friends, go surfing, play football. These things for me, I said, if I can keep alive. The other day in the car, in the middle of the pandemic, he's telling me, I love my life. And I was like, in these 2 years, if my child can tell me this, I think we did okay. We didn't damage one more child with fear of his own immune system and something that is so in nature. How can you fear it?
So right. So right.
All illnesses we recover from. This is how we become big and strong. And because of this, I think we have managed to have a really normal 2 years. Like not letting this into our heads only, like creating this kavach barrier that what the mainstream says is not always true. There is another reality. There are several realities, multi-dimensions existing, and it's what we give focus to that we create. So we're going to give focus to healthy relationships with people, having a good time in life, waking up and thanking the universe for giving us this amazing opportunity to be together. And basics, I think these basics go a really long way in life. Forget your education, your career. Your whole life is enhanced by these understandings. Your career will also get enhanced. Everything gets enhanced if you have this foundation of humanity strong in you. Connection to nature and each other. You can override anything. I saw in the pandemic how few people fed thousands. And that's when I realized we don't need a government. Give it to the citizens. We'll take care of everything. We'll manage each other. We'll feed each other. We'll educate each other. Just get out of the way, government. You're just creating too many issues.
Yes. You're just too invested in the system and that machine and shoving it down our
Propagation
throat
of the
every day.
system.
And that's what you hear on the radio. That's what you'll hear on your ringtone of your mobile. I mean, we have done a good job, by not really, getting smashed so badly by this system. Only if our governments can wake up and see that it's a machine, and they also need to, plug out from it step by step and create a one that works for the people and the planet, because without planet, you're not going to have people surviving. There's a question from Ashish Mukherjee. Daryl, are you working on a structure for the eco-village community, even if not a curriculum in the way we have today? But is there some broad education structure you are contemplating? So yes, definitely, one of my strategies is, of course, uh, very fundamental to this community is the knowledge that builds this community, the natural sciences. So that is the one curriculum we are looking at. And then it has been, Isha Anand has been a good friend of mine in Goa. Even I knew at the time when she was trying to, set up this open learning school in Goa. And I have been looking forward to collaborate with her and also some of our other, panelists. There's the Learning Center in Goa, which is also one of these, amazing education institutions. A lot of people in the state are doing, homeschooling. So I know that's the group that I have to work with, right? So it's going to be a collaboration with this group, with people who are working with me with the sciences, and to have. So it's going to be an open curriculum that we will devise that is the best for the here and now, for the current life that we are living, for us to transition into the new space. That is the most important education. And in my book Become Healthy or Extinct, when I wrote it in 2011, I explained certain things in it, which was the basic design of the human body, on how its energy centers mature at certain periodical intervals, which we call the chakras. And it's by that that we get into certain phases of our life, even if it is puberty, or if it is self-confidence, or if it is being more loving, or whether it's being, more communicating. You can see I'm working through the energy centers. So there's a natural design of the human body which shows that children are most open to learning very quickly by mimicry. Okay, and this is of all species on this planet. They look at their parents and they do the same thing. So not so much of, algebra, geometry, imagining things within your head that do not exist in front of you. You see, so that is the big mistake we are making in our junior school, and we should go more with the child's innate capacity of learning very quickly by just interacting with certain things. And if you will allow them to interact with real things, that is things in nature, which will happen in an open school, then the learning is going to be very fast. Okay, it's very difficult holding a toy dog or something, a toy bear, and saying this is a bear, and how are they going to have that relationship or deep learning? So that's an important input that I want to give to all educators. Please read up on this, that at the younger ages, how children learn faster through, through example, through following. And so that's how they like to, play with the soil, learn how to grow their own, herbs and plants, and through interaction, try to make their own food and building materials and homes and all of that. So by the time a child is 12, 13, 14, they could have all these skills in their lives, the basic skills of living on their own. Of course, that's not what you want to do, but you want to have multiple skill sets in your life if you're a creative and imaginative person. So I will just take another question. So just thanks from Ashish, and
There's a very interesting Rudolf Steiner's perspective on this development. As they age in a particular first 7 years, there are certain things that are developing within the child. And to match the input you are giving with the development of the child, what I love is when they reach 13, that's when they start talking about all the revolutions in the world, because the teenager is rebelling. To be able to find himself at 21, he needs to look at all the systems and start questioning them, right? To arrive at himself. So at 13, 14, you start doing all the revolutions in the world, people standing up, fighting against it for themselves. And then by 18, they get it, and it's such a beautiful unfolding. 0 to 7 is, they say that the neocortex is still developing. So the child has no memory really of remembering too much. So you don't crowd their brains with too much information, you use the limbs and the feeling body, because their feeling body is very active. They can feel everything. So you give them beautiful stories, music, and lots of activities with their hands, digging the earth, planting seeds, chopping vegetables, making bread, imitating adult life, like you said. First 7 years, that's how they learn, through imitation. And then after that, it becomes feelings become predominant. Oh, they want me to do this, but I don't feel like doing this. It starts to arise at 18, at 8, and become very solid by 13. And by 21, when their reproductive organs are ready, that's when their ego organization is absolutely ready. The I becomes very strong, but it matches, like you said, the chakras, the energy center, that
Yeah.
the minute their reproductive organs are ready, their self of identity of I becomes also strong at that time. And if you just put this on a child and you map this, and you know that this is how it's going within the child's internal landscape, it's so beautiful then to connect them with the external landscape. Then they have a connection to the world around them without disconnecting from themselves. I find this really valuable. I will give this input
Yes.
when we sit and do the pedagogy of
Yes,
the
of course, of course.
eco community.
Yes.
There's a lot of gold in these perspectives, because when you put it onto a child, it matches so beautifully. You know it's got to be right.
Yeah.
You know that it applies in practical. It's not just theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Isha.
Such a beautiful conversation. I am so inspired meeting all of you and knowing that this family just keeps growing. It's growing, and there's nothing else to do actually, but this. I really feel, because the ones who feel that the system is no good, then now we have nothing else but to create our new system now.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
such an exciting time.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Rajat, what else would you like to add in conclusion?
Did you ask me?
Yes, Rajat ji,
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
going to
yeah,
wind up
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Anything
yeah,
else
yeah,
you want to add in
yeah.
conclusion before
Yeah,
we wind up?
yes, I would say that it was a beautiful discussion I had today with Isha ji and you, and I can see that it is a I can feel that there's a possibility. There's a huge possibility, and I'm very this discussion with this meeting with I had with you guys. I feel that we there is a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. It is just that we need to connect with people, the right people. And as you are doing it in this series of conferences and the meetings, I think we don't know. Very soon we will get the right amount of the change which we are looking at. It will happen any day. So we
It's
are very
already
hopeful.
So,
happening.
It is
yes,
already
it's
happening.
already
It's
happening,
already
and
happening.
we will
Yeah.
formalize it like in other webinars also. When whether it was food or health, we started forming committees. So similarly for this education sector, we are planning in Goa, and this is the model for all states. What I'm talking today, if I'm saying the holistic education committee of Goa, so that means it can happen in your state as well. So the idea there is to get such pioneers who understand where we are now and what is our future in a more green, holistic way. Where we want to go, and who are thinking of those type of open experiential learning systems that start making a group of that in your own state. So we have
Yeah.
already started by making some, Telegram groups where the panelists first who are on it, they come into the group. And then it is very clear that who else you can get into the group. Yes, you can get somebody who has these values and who has been doing this work in your state. And so you know that the results of their work are good and they are in the, within the right direction. And so as a group, start talking, discussing, and putting things in place, and then perhaps because all of us we are trying to do the best, maybe alone, maybe with two three friends, we are trying to change the current system where we think is dysfunctional, and we're trying to bring in something better, and it becomes such a tough task. But in your states, if you have such like-minded people and you have a group of 15, 20 people, they may belong to a school and the full time they're doing something else. But at least if you all meet once a week or once in 15 days, depending on how fast you all want to transform your state or your city or your village, that you can have these meetings, put your ideas together, and start devising all of this. You know, so I will see how through a website or through what communication system, because the work is the same, right? So where people are cross states, maybe we create a blueprint and we put it somewhere, and then every state or group of people who are working, in their own places, they have a look at it, they improve it, and then we have with every week advancing, we have a more detailed, have a more actionable, more creative, with many options kind of system. So I think that's the that is the necessary next step of the New Earth Summit, because after we talk and ideate, and this is going to be recorded and we will be sending it out to all our audiences, so people will become aware. But then besides that awareness, actions need to happen on the ground from the experts in the domain, and so that is the why the need for these committees. So that's what I will be doing. I'm going to put. I've already spoken to Isha about it, and that definitely she would like to be in this holistic education committee that we will form in Goa. And I hope likewise, Rajatji, you are able to find some wonderful people in your state, and do it. And of course, we will remain connected. We would also know some good people, through our contacts in your state, who we know are doing this good kind of work. So, that's, I think, that's our plan for taking it forward.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, we are finally at the end of today's session. A big thank you to Isha ji and Rajat ji. Thanks to audience as well for being with us till now. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow again. Okay, at the same time on the same link for our date 28 topic, which is the rise of the rise and the fall of the capitalist, and also the emergence of the indigenous world order. So what we're talking about is,
I love it, Daniel. Indigenous world order, more power.
So the word indigenous, what does indigenous mean? It means the people who were native to that land and are still staying on that land. But this, United Nations and all of that, we presented this in an earlier webinar. They have changed that definition, and it seems there are only 350 million people who are indigenous to their land as per their definition. So they gave a very few people the right to, their own resources and their own governance. But for example, me, I'm back in my ancestral home, so I am in my indigenous place. You see, so many of us Indians. So if you go by the pure definition of indigenous people to the land, who have the right to the resources, to the governance, and to design the way they want to develop their society. Everybody in the world who's right now at their in their native place, they are indigenous people. So we're going to talk of that tomorrow. And so behind this machine that's functioning, there has been a dysfunctional management and capitalists who have done all of this. And so it's the time in the world right now where their entire system is collapsing, and it is forcing us to kind of come out, unplug from this destructive system, and go into our own local native indigenous spaces, and restart these pockets of new earth the way we're going to do it right.
It's like I'm a child of refugees on both sides. Both sides. My parents we are refugees in India. So India is not my land. It has given me home. But if I'm indigenous to anything, it is to planet Earth. And I've had this argument with Shabana Azmi and other famous people who are like, you are not an Indian. You don't speak any languages. You don't do anything. What kind of Indian are you? I said, first of all, I'm an Indian because you divided my country and you made a border, and you guys, somebody else decided that my parents will birth me here. So I'm Indian. I belong to this earth. And I belong to this one earth, that none of you will divide into countries and make me belong only to India. You cannot separate me like this. I belong to the earth. I'm
That's it.
indigenous to the earth. You know, I have no native place but the forest and the ocean and all her elements.
Isha, you are a step
Vital.
ahead. You're a step ahead than this philosophy which we are talking about.
You know,
Yeah.
I cannot fit into this philosophy because it doesn't include me. So I have to create a philosophy that includes me.
Yes.
And this is the truth. Actually, this is the truth. But then, to understand your truth, we need to also honor the indigenous people in a way. It is
Only
not
them.
like we need
You
to
know, they
honor.
are, I have seen them. They are holding the earth in its sacred balance. If it wasn't for the people living in nature, completely one with her, we would not be having this conversation on the internet today. Like, it is not possible that our lives will exist without them holding the connection to nature so primordial and so strong that we can be so disconnected and still live. Otherwise, you cannot survive if you are not connected to nature, if you live deep in the Amazon, in the jungle, if you're not listening to the trees and the plants, you will not survive 2 days there. And they have survived thousands of years. And because they have survived with such a deep connection, we can exist without any connection. So I really believe the indigenous people, they are my gods, they are my gurus, they are my they are the ones I pray to. Every night before I sleep, I say more protection to them because without them, we won't exist unless we become so connected to nature.
Yes, that's wonderful insight. Thank you, Isha.
Thank
So,
you for having me here to share my very
Thank you.
personal learnings in life. You know, like nobody really cares about them because there is no degree, and I'm not educated to that extent like the real world wants me to. It has been my own learning through my own deductions, and I never have a chance to offer it. So thank you so much for wanting it.
most welcome, and we're looking forward, to
Very
empower
lively.
this to
Very
make
lively.
this.
Very lively. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat. So, bye bye, everyone, and see you tomorrow evening. Like I
Yeah.
said, to see the, almost the finale of the New Earth Summit on this topic, the fall of the entire capitalist model. That's what's happening now. The bubble has burst, and the rise of the indigenous world order, where people in their own states start reforming, their health security, their food security, their holistic, beautiful, ecosystem that is good for them and the planet. Good night.